Imagine a landscape dotted with grassy hills. They look natural, but many are not. They are tumuli, ancient burial mounds built by human hands. The oldest known examples date back over 7,000 years, long before the pyramid. In the Neolithic period, communities began to bury their dead in simple pits covered with earth and stone. Over time, these graves grew into mounds. The earliest known tumulus is at Tel-es-Sultan in Jericho, dating to around 7,000 BCE. But the most famous early tumuli come from the Eurasian steppes. The Kurgan culture, which flourished from around 5,000 BCE, built thousands of these mounds. The Kurgan people buried their leaders in these mounds, along with weapons, horses, and precious goods. The mounds served as both tombs and markers of territory, visible for miles across the open steppe. The word kurgan itself means tumulus in Turkic languages. Kurgans were not just graves, they were statements. The size of the mound reflected the status of the person buried inside. A larger mound meant a more powerful leader. Building a tumulus was a community effort. Hundreds of people might work for weeks, carrying baskets of earth and stone. The labor itself was a display of the leader's power. Inside the mound, the burial chamber was often made of wood or stone. The body was placed with grave goods, pottery, weapons, jewelry. These items tell us about the society that built the mound. Kurgan is from the Yamnia culture, dating back to around 3,500 BCE. These early kurgans were simple pits covered by a small mound. Over time, they became more elaborate. By the Iron Age, Scythian kurgans contained complex wooden chambers, gold artifacts, and even sacrificed horses. The scale of these burials shows how important the afterlife was to these cultures. They believed the dead needed their wealth and servants in the next world. So they buried them with everything they might need. This belief drove the construction of ever larger and more impressive kurgans across the steppe. The construction of a kurgan was a carefully planned event. First, a pit was dug. Then the burial chamber was built inside it using logs or stone slabs. The body was placed inside along with grave goods. Sometimes multiple people were buried in the same kurgan over time. After the burial, the pit was covered with a wooden roof, and then earth was piled on top. The mound was built in layers, each layer compacted to prevent collapse. The final shape was often a dome or a cone. Some kurgans were so large they could be seen from miles. Kurgans are found across the Eurasian steppe, from Ukraine to Mongolia. They are the most visible remnants of the nomadic cultures that dominated this vast region for millennia. Today, many kurgans have been excavated by archaeologists, revealing treasures and insights, but many more remain untouched, holding secrets of the past. The kurgan tradition shows how deeply the concept of status and the afterlife shaped these societies. Even in death, leaders wanted to show their power. And their tombs, these artificial hills, the oldest known tumulus in Europe is the Karanovo Mound in Bulgaria, dating to around 6,200 BCE. It is a simple earthen mound covering a stone-lined grave, but it set a pattern that would spread across the continent. Not all early tumuli were for burial. Some were used for rituals or as markers of territory. The purpose varied by culture, but the form was remarkably similar, a mound of earth or stone. The spread of tumulus buildings seems to have followed trade routes and migrations. From the steppes, the idea moved into Europe, the Middle East, and eventually Asia. By the Bronze Age, tumuli had become a global phenomenon. From the British Isles to the Korean Peninsula, people were raising mounds over their dead, creating a shared human tradition. From the British Isles to the Korean Peninsula, cultures were building mounds over their dead. But the reasons were about to evolve. As societies became more hierarchical, tumuli grew in size and complexity. They were no longer just family graves. They became royal monuments. In the Middle East, the royal tombs of Ur in Mesopotamia date to around 2600 BCE. These were not mounds on the surface, but deep pits covered by earth, creating a tumulus-like structure above. The largest tumulus in Europe from the Bronze Age is Silbury Hill in England. It stands 40 meters high and was built around 2400 BCE. Its purpose remains a mystery. Unlike burial mounds, no grave was found inside Silbury Hill. It may have been a ceremonial site or a symbol of power. Its purpose remains a mystery. It contains no burial. Silbury Hill required an estimated 4 million man-hours to build. That's the equivalent of 500 people working for 15 years. And yet no one was buried inside. It was a symbol. In Greece, the Mycenaeans built tholos tombs, beehive-shaped chambers covered by earth mounds. The treasury of Atreus, built around 1250 BCE, is the most famous. Its stone doorway weighs 120 tons. These tombs were built for kings. The wealth of grave goods, gold masks, weapons, jewelry, reflects the power of the ruler. The mound itself was a visible reminder of that power for generations. In the Eurasian steppes, Scythian kurgans reached monumental sizes. The Tumuli kurgan in Ukraine, dating to the 4th century BCE, is over 20 meters high and contained a royal burial with horses and servants. The Scythians believed the afterlife required the same comforts as life, so they buried their kings with weapons, food, drink, and even their horses and servants. The mound protected this world for eternity. In China, the earliest tumuli appeared during the Shang dynasty, 1600–1046 BCE. These were rectangular mounds covering elaborate underground palaces. The size of the mound matched the rank of the deceased. The first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, built a massive tumulus that remains unexcavated. Historical records say it contains a model of the universe with rivers of mercury. The mound is 76 meters high. In Korea, the Gajosian kingdom built dolmen and mound tombs. The largest, the Hwangnaam-Dichang, is 120 meters long and 23 meters high. It contains 2 separate burials, possibly a king and queen. By the Iron Age, tumuli had become a universal symbol of power. From the Americas to Asia, every major civilization built them. But the methods and meanings varied widely, as we'll see next. One of the most intriguing questions is whether tumuli were invented independently in different parts of the world. The earliest American mounds date to around 3500 BCE in the Archaic period of North America. Watson Brake in Louisiana is a complex of 11 mounds connected by ridges. It was built by hunter-gatherers long before agriculture. This suggests that mound building emerged independently in the Americas. The Poverty Point site in Louisiana, built around 1500 BCE, is even more impressive. It consists of 6 concentric ridges forming a giant octagon with a large central mound. The scale is enormous. These American mounds were used for ceremonies, burials, and as platforms for elite residences. They were central to the social and political life of these ancient communities. The mounds were not just structures, they were symbols of power and identity. In South America, the earliest mounds appear in the Andes around 3000 BCE. The Carol civilization in Peru built platform mounds for ceremonial purposes. These too were independent inventions. So independent invention seems likely for the Americas. But what about Eurasia? Did the idea of a burial mound spread from one culture to another, or did it arise separately in multiple places? The evidence in Europe, the earliest tumuli appear in the Balkans and the Pontic steppe around 6000 BCE. They then spread westward and northward over thousands of years. This pattern suggests that the practice of building tumuli may have originated in the steppe and then spread through migration or cultural diffusion. But local variations also emerged, making it hard to trace a single origin. In East Asia, the earliest mounds appear around 3000 BCE in China and Korea, much later than in Europe. This could be due to independent invention or a later spread along the Silk Road. The debate continues. What is clear is that once the idea of a tumulus took hold, it became a powerful tool for expressing authority and connecting with the divine. The mound was a bridge between the living and the Today, tumuli are protected as archaeological treasures, but they face threats from development, looting, and erosion. Many have been flattened for farming or urban expansion. Despite these dangers, tumuli remain enduring monuments to human creativity and our universal need to remember. They remind us that even the simplest form, a pile of earth, can carry immense meaning across millennia. Urban expansion is a major threat to tumuli. As cities grow, many mounds are flattened to make way for new buildings, roads, and farms. This destroys not only the visible structure, but also the archaeological context beneath. Looting is a serious problem. Grave robbers have targeted tumuli for millennia, seeking valuable grave goods. Even today, many mounds are illegally excavated, destroying their historical context. Climate change also poses a risk. Rising sea levels and increased rainfall can damage the structure of mounds, causing them to collapse. Archaeologists are working to document and preserve these sites. Despite these challenges, tumuli continue to reveal secrets. New technologies like ground-penetrating radar allow archaeologists to explore mounds without digging. This has led to discoveries of hidden chambers and artifacts. Russia found with a golden headdress and a fully preserved horse. Such finds remind us of the richness of these ancient cultures. In Japan, the Kofun period, 300–710 CE, produced massive keyhole-shaped tumuli. The Daisen Kofun in Osaka is 486 meters long and is believed to be the tomb of Emperor Nintoku. It is one of the largest tombs in the world. These kofun are surrounded by moats and covered with clay figures called haniwa. They represent a unique development of the tumulus tradition, adapted to Japanese culture and beliefs. In the Americas, the Mississippian culture built enormous platform mounds, such as Monk's Mound. At Cahokia, which rises 30 meters and covers 14 acres, it was the center of a city that once housed 20,000 people. The tradition of mound building continued in North America until European contact. The mounds were used for ceremonies, burials, and as the foundations for temples and homes of the elite. So what drove people across the world to build these mounds? The reasons are as varied as the cultures themselves. But common themes emerge, honoring the dead, displaying power, and connecting with the spiritual. For many, the mound was a sacred place. It marked the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead, a bridge to the gods. The mound was a sacred place. It marked the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead, a bridge to the gods, and the world of the ancestors. It was a place for rituals and remembrance. For leaders, the mound was a symbol of their authority. The larger the mound, the greater their power. It was a statement that would last for centuries, a monument to their legacy. And for communities, building a mound was an act of unity. It brought people together for a common purpose, strengthening social bonds and creating a shared identity. The tumulus is one of the oldest and most widespread forms of human architecture. It appears on every continent except Antarctica. It is a testament to our shared humanity and our desire to leave a mark on the landscape, to remember and be remembered. From the steppes of Asia to the plains of North America, these ancient monuments still stand, silent witnesses to the lives and beliefs of those who came before us. The desire to leave a mark on the world is as old as humanity itself. From the simple graves of Neolithic farmers to the monumental tombs of emperors, tumuli tell the story of our past. They remind us that even in death, we seek to be remembered. As we continue to study these ancient mounds, we learn not only about the people who built them, but also about ourselves. The urge to create something lasting is universal. The next time you see a grassy hill, take a closer look. It might not be a hill at all. It might be a tumulus, a gateway to the past, waiting to tell its story. Tumuli are more than just piles of earth. They are monuments to human ambition, memory, and the eternal hope that we will not be forgotten.